Mia had lived in the quiet Willow Creek neighborhood for nearly 10 years. She loved her little house with the small garden in the backyard. Every spring, she planted bright flowers, and in the summer, she grew vegetables. Her wooden fence, built carefully by herself and her brother, marked the edge of her property. It was her pride. The fence had taken weeks to finish. She measured everything, cut each board with care, and painted it a warm brown color that matched the house. One afternoon, Mia's calm life was interrupted by a letter from the Homeowners Association. She opened it with a curious feeling, expecting the usual notices about maintenance or meetings. Instead, she found a formal claim that made her heart sink. The letter stated that her backyard fence was built across the property line and was partially on her neighbor's land. The neighbor was Karen, a woman known in the community for being strict and difficult. Mia read the letter again, hoping she had misunderstood. Mia remembered the day she built the fence. She had carefully measured the boundaries using the old property map she had received when she bought the house. She had even called the city office once to double-check the survey markers. Everything had been perfect. How could Karen claim the fence was on her land? Mia felt her hands tremble slightly. She knew she had done everything right, but the letter made her doubt herself. Still, Mia wanted to solve the problem calmly. She decided to visit Karen in person. Maybe it was a misunderstanding that could be fixed with a simple conversation. Mia walked down the small sidewalk separating their homes. Karen was tending to her rose bushes when Mia arrived. The woman's face was stern. She looked up slowly as if expecting Mia. "I got the letter from the HOA," Mia said politely. "Can we talk about the fence?" Karen crossed her arms and raised her eyebrows. "Yes, I sent it. Your fence is clearly on my property. It needs to be moved." Her tone was firm, leaving no room for discussion. Mia felt frustration rise inside her. She had always tried to be a good neighbor. She watered the flowers that sometimes grew along Karen's property, picked up leaves that blew into her yard, and even helped when Karen's cat got stuck in a tree. And now Karen was accusing her of building on the wrong land. "I'm sure there must be a mistake," Mia said calmly. "I measured everything carefully when I built the fence. I even checked the property lines with the city." Karen shook her head. "You don't understand. The fence is on my land. You have to fix it." Mia wanted to argue, but she realized it would not help. Karen was not interested in hearing her side yet. Instead, Mia decided to take a different approach. She walked back home, thinking carefully. The situation felt heavier than she expected. Her backyard, which had always been a peaceful place, suddenly felt like a battlefield. That evening, Mia sat at her kitchen table with a notebook and her property documents. She carefully reviewed the maps and notes she had made over the years. Each corner of the property was marked, and each measurement seemed correct. The fence had been built precisely along the property line. She even found old photographs of the fence under construction. Every image confirmed her memory. The fence had never crossed any boundary. Still, the HOA letter weighed on her mind. She wondered why Karen had decided to make this claim now after so many years. Was it a misunderstanding, or was Karen trying to gain more space in the backyard? Mia could not be sure, but she knew she had to prove the truth. The next morning, Mia contacted the HOA. She explained that she had built the fence carefully and believed it was entirely on her property. She requested a review of the claim and suggested that a professional surveyor check the property lines. The HOA responded politely but vaguely. They said they would review the situation, but no timeline was given. Days turned into weeks, and Mia continued to receive subtle messages from Karen. Sometimes Karen would stand at her window looking at the fence with a frown. Other times she would drop notes in Mia's mailbox, claiming again that the fence was on her property. It felt as if Karen was watching every movement in the backyard. Mia tried to ignore the behavior, but it became stressful. Mia spoke to a few neighbors, hoping to get advice. Some said Karen was known for making unnecessary complaints, while others advised Mia to document everything carefully. She started taking photographs of the fence, her garden, and the property markers. She also noted the dates when Karen left notes or sent messages. Every detail was carefully recorded. One afternoon, Mia's brother came over to help her think through the next steps. "You did everything right," he said. "There is no reason to move the fence, but you should hire a professional surveyor. That way, everything will be official." Mia agreed. She began searching for licensed land surveyors in the area. She wanted someone independent, someone who would measure the property accurately without taking sides. After making several calls, she scheduled an appointment with Mr. Collins, a surveyor with 20 years of experience. His reputation was excellent, and he promised a detailed report with diagrams and photographs. Meanwhile, Karen continued to pressure the HOA. Mia received another letter stating that Karen insisted on having the fence removed immediately. Mia felt her heart sink. She realized this dispute might not be resolved quickly. It was becoming clear that patience and careful preparation would be her best allies. As she looked at her fence that evening, Mia felt a mix of emotions. The wooden boards, painted warm brown, seemed to glow in the sunlight. They had been part of so many family memories. Her brother had helped her build it during weekends, and she remembered the laughter and teamwork. It was more than just a boundary. It was a symbol of her hard work. Mia took a deep breath. She decided she would not let fear or false claims take away her peace. She began planning the survey carefully, gathering all documents, photographs, and notes. She wanted every detail ready for when the surveyor arrived. The next few days were spent preparing. Mia carefully marked the property corners with stakes, reviewed city maps, and confirmed the surveyor's appointment. She also talked to other neighbors, hoping to find anyone who remembered when the fence was built. Some neighbors came forward, recalling seeing her measuring and building the fence years ago. Their statements added more weight to her case. By the end of the week, Mia felt a small sense of control return. She knew the process would be slow, but she had taken the first steps toward proving the truth. Her backyard, which had felt invaded by doubt and tension, began to feel like her sanctuary again. Late one evening, Mia sat by her garden, watering the flowers as the sun set. She thought about the days ahead. The surveyor would come, measurements would be taken, and the truth would be revealed. She felt a small spark of hope. Even if the process was long, she knew she had done nothing wrong. Her fence was built with care on her property, and she would soon have the evidence to show it. For the first time in weeks, Mia smiled. She realized that patience, careful preparation, and staying calm were her greatest tools. Whatever happened next, she was ready to face it. The fence, the garden, and her home were hers, and she would protect them with dignity and determination. After the letter from the Homeowners Association, Mia's life changed in ways she had not expected. Every morning, she would wake up thinking about her fence. She would check it carefully, looking for signs of damage or anything that might be used against her. The wooden boards, once a source of pride, now carried tension. She still loved her garden, but working there no longer brought the same peace. Each time she saw Karen walking along her side of the property, her heart would race. Mia had submitted her request for a professional surveyor to the HOA weeks ago, but the response had been slow. The association seemed unsure how to handle the situation. Some members appeared sympathetic, while others seemed to take Karen's side. Mia could feel the weight of uncertainty pressing on her. Every day felt longer, and the letters from the HOA or notes from Karen increased her stress. Mia often found herself rereading old property documents late at night, trying to convince herself that everything was correct. She began keeping a detailed journal of each interaction with Karen. If Karen came to the window and stared at the fence, Mia would write down the time and date. If she found another note in her mailbox, she would photograph it and place it in her folder. She even started marking the weather conditions and the position of the sun when taking photographs. It seemed extreme, but Mia knew that accurate records could help prove her case. The neighborhood had its own quiet drama. Some neighbors whispered about the dispute, expressing opinions to each other in hushed tones. Others avoided talking about it as if fearing to get involved. A few neighbors, however, approached Mia to show support. One of them, an elderly man named Henry, remembered watching Mia and her brother build the fence years ago. "You measured carefully," he said. "I saw every corner being marked. You were very thorough." Mia appreciated the encouragement. It reminded her that she had done nothing wrong and that the truth had witnesses. Even with some support, the waiting was hard. Each day, Mia feared receiving another letter from the HOA or an aggressive note from Karen. Her evenings were spent going over property maps, rechecking the measurements she had made when building the fence. Each line on the maps reassured her, but the stress did not fade. She found herself losing sleep, thinking about what might happen if the HOA sided with Karen or demanded that the fence be moved. Mia decided to talk to her brother Daniel for guidance. Daniel had helped build the fence and knew every detail about the property. They sat together at the kitchen table, spreading out maps, photographs, and documents. "You did everything perfectly," Daniel said. "But we need a professional surveyor. That way no one can dispute your measurements." Mia nodded. "I have already found one. Mr. Collins comes next week. He has 20 years of experience. I hope this will finally settle the matter." Daniel smiled. "It will. You have proof witnesses, and now a professional will confirm everything. You just need patience." Patience, however, was difficult to maintain. Karen continued her subtle attacks. Sometimes, she would leave the mailbox open with a note claiming the fence encroached on her property. Other times, she would stand in the yard, arms crossed, watching Mia's every move. The feeling of being observed made Mia tense. Even watering her plants felt like a careful calculation to avoid giving Karen any reason to complain. Mia also realized that the HOA meetings added another layer of stress. Whenever she attended, she noticed Karen speaking first, presenting her claims with confidence. Some members of the board seemed to accept Karen's statements without asking for evidence. Mia felt her heart sink each time, but she reminded herself that Mr. Collins's survey would soon make the truth undeniable. To stay prepared, Mia began organizing every document she had. She printed photographs of the fence from the day it was built, organized receipts for materials, and kept copies of all her letters to the HOA. She even made a timeline of events, noting when the fence was built, when she received Karen's letters, and the dates of interactions with neighbors. Every detail mattered. One evening, as Mia worked on her timeline, she reflected on how much this dispute had changed her daily life. She used to enjoy afternoons reading in her garden, listening to birds and the gentle breeze. Now even the soft rustling of leaves made her anxious, as if every sound might signal a new complaint from Karen. Mia realized how important it was to regain control over her peace of mind. She needed to focus on the things she could control, like preparing for the survey and documenting everything carefully. Her preparation included talking to other homeowners who had faced disputes. She learned that a professional surveyor's report was the most reliable way to resolve such issues. The survey would include precise measurements, photographs, and diagrams that could not be disputed. Mia felt reassured by this knowledge. Finally, she had a plan to address Karen's claims in a clear, factual way. The day before the surveyor arrived, Mia spent the entire afternoon marking property corners with stakes. She rechecked measurements, reviewed city maps, and even cleaned the fence so that it would appear neat and professional. She wanted Mr. Collins to have an accurate view of the property, and for the report to be as clear as possible. Mia's neighbors noticed her careful preparations. Some quietly admired her determination. Mrs. Lopez, who lived across the street, said, "You are very organized, Mia. Karen might cause problems, but you are ready." Mia smiled politely. The support from neighbors, even small words of encouragement, made her feel less alone in the struggle. Finally, the long wait was nearly over. Mia felt both nervous and relieved. The surveyor would arrive the next morning, and soon the truth would be documented. She knew that even though Karen had made repeated claims, the facts were on her side. She had built the fence carefully, measured each corner, and documented every step. That evening, Mia sat in her garden, watering the plants and looking at the fence. The wooden boards glowed softly in the light of the setting sun. She remembered building each part with her brother, the laughter they shared, and the pride of finishing a job well done. The fence was more than a boundary. It was a symbol of her care, attention, and determination. As darkness fell, Mia felt a quiet sense of hope. The waiting had been long and stressful, but she had prepared thoroughly. She knew that Mr. Collins's survey would provide the clarity needed. Whatever Karen said, the evidence would show the truth. Mia made a promise to herself. She would remain calm, follow the process carefully, and protect her property with dignity. She looked at the sky, taking deep breaths, and let the tension of the past week slowly ease. Tomorrow would bring answers, and she was ready. The fence, her garden, and her home were hers, and she would prove it with facts and patience. Mia went inside and wrote a final note in her journal. I have done everything right. The truth will be clear soon. I will remain calm and prepared. This fence is my work, my home, and my property. I will protect it. As she closed her journal, she felt a spark of strength she had not realized she still had. The long wait had been difficult, but it had also prepared her for the battle ahead. She was ready to face the survey, confident that the truth would finally be revealed. The morning sun rose softly over Willow Creek, casting a warm glow on Mia's backyard. She stood at the edge of the wooden fence, looking at the garden she had nurtured for years. Today was the day Mr. Collins, the professional surveyor, would arrive. Mia felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. This survey could finally bring clarity to the long dispute with Karen. Mia had spent the previous evening double-checking everything. She remeasured the fence corners, placed stakes to mark boundaries, and organized her documents in a neat folder. Photographs of the fence during construction, receipts for materials, and notes from neighbors who had witnessed the building process were ready. She wanted Mr. Collins to see that she had taken every precaution. A soft knock at the door broke her thoughts. She opened it to find Mr. Collins standing with a professional smile, holding his measuring equipment. He was tall, wearing a clean uniform, and carried a case filled with tools that looked precise and advanced. Good morning, Mia, he said. I understand we are here to measure the property lines and verify the fence placement. Yes, Mia replied. I hope this will finally settle the dispute. She stepped aside to let him enter. Karen had been informed of the survey as well. Mia saw her standing across the street, arms crossed, watching silently. Karen's expression was unreadable, but Mia felt her presence like a shadow over the yard. She reminded herself to remain calm and let the surveyor do the work. Mr. Collins began by examining the property maps and comparing them with the current layout of the backyard. He marked points with small flags and used a measuring device that looked like it belonged in a science lab. Mia watched as he carefully moved from corner to corner, recording measurements on his tablet. Every step was deliberate and precise. Karen eventually crossed the street and approached the fence, her voice sharp. I still think this fence is on my property, she said, pointing to the wooden boards. Mia took a deep breath. Please wait for the survey, Karen. Mr. Collins will show the official boundaries. Karen did not respond and stood quietly, arms folded, watching the work. Mia felt her heart pound but reminded herself that facts were on her side. The survey took several hours. Mr. Collins measured distances, marked points, and photographed each section of the fence. He even examined the original property markers hidden under grass and soil. Mia observed everything carefully, noting each step. It was fascinating to see how precise his work was. The equipment emitted soft beeps and small screens displayed numbers and lines representing the property boundaries. As Mr. Collins worked, he occasionally asked Mia questions. Did you follow any specific measurements when you built the fence? He asked. Yes, Mia replied. I used the property maps from the city office. I also checked the markers and measured twice before placing each post. That is excellent, Mr. Collins said. It will help me prepare an accurate report. Time passed slowly. The sun moved across the sky, and Mia occasionally glanced at Karen, who still observed silently. The tension in the air was palpable. Mia felt a mix of hope and anxiety. Every measurement could either confirm her long-held belief or create new doubts, but she trusted her careful work and preparation. Finally, Mr. Collins finished marking the last corner. He stepped back and examined the data collected on his tablet. Mia held her breath, waiting for his assessment. After a few moments, he smiled. Everything is clear, he said. The fence is completely on your property. All measurements confirm that it is within your boundaries. The property markers align perfectly with the fence placement. Mia felt a wave of relief wash over her. She could hardly believe it. After weeks of stress and doubt, the truth was finally confirmed. Karen's expression changed slightly. She frowned and looked at the surveyor. Are you sure? She asked, her voice less confident. Yes, Mr. Collins replied firmly. All evidence supports that the fence is on your neighbor's property. There is no overlap onto your land. Karen stood silently for a moment, then crossed back to her yard. Mia felt a small sense of victory. but knew it was not complete until the HOA officially recognized the findings. Mr. Collins began preparing his report. He organized all measurements, photographs, and diagrams in a clear and professional format. He explained each section to Mia, showing how the fence aligned with the property lines and where the original markers were located. Mia took notes and asked questions, wanting to understand every detail. By late afternoon, the report was ready. Mr. Collins handed Mia a folder containing the full survey, complete with diagrams, photographs, and a written explanation of the findings. "This report is official," he said. "You can submit it to the HOA. It will clearly show that the fence is entirely on your property." Mia felt her shoulders relax for the first time in weeks. She thanked Mr. Collins for his thorough work. His professionalism and precision had provided the clarity she had needed for so long. After Mr. Collins left, Mia walked around her backyard, touching the fence she had built with her brother. Each board felt familiar and strong under her hands. The fence was more than wood. It represented her patience, determination, and careful planning. She felt proud of herself for not giving in to fear or frustration during the long dispute. That evening, Mia carefully organized the survey report and prepared a cover letter for the HOA. She explained the situation, attached the report, and requested that the association formally recognize the fence as being on her property. She hoped this would end the conflict once and for all. Mia also reflected on the journey so far. The dispute had tested her patience, but it had also taught her valuable lessons. She learned the importance of documentation, the value of professional guidance, and the power of staying calm in stressful situations. Every measurement, every photograph, every note she had taken had played a part in proving the truth. As night fell, Mia sat in her garden, feeling the cool breeze and listening to the soft sounds of the neighborhood. The fence, which had once been a source of worry, now felt like a symbol of victory and progress. Mia knew that Karen might still try to challenge the results, but with the official survey in hand, there was no way to dispute the facts. Mia also realized that the survey had brought a sense of closure to the long months of stress. She had prepared, acted carefully, and trusted the process. The truth was now clear and documented. She thought about her neighbors who had supported her, like Henry and Mrs. Lopez. Their words of encouragement had helped her stay strong during the long wait. Mia felt grateful for the small acts of kindness that reminded her she was not alone. The next step would be submitting the survey report to the HOA and waiting for their official decision. Mia knew that the process might still take time, but she felt confident that the facts were undeniable. The fence was hers, built correctly and protected by law. Before going to bed, Mia walked to the edge of her property and looked at the fence one last time. The boards gleamed softly in the light of the setting moon. She touched the wood, feeling the texture of years of care and work. A sense of calm settled over her. The long struggle had not been easy, but she had faced it with courage and preparation. Mia whispered to herself, "I did everything right. The truth is clear. I will not let anyone take this away." She went inside feeling a renewed sense of determination. The fence was more than a boundary. It was a symbol of her patience, careful planning, and strength. Mia knew the surveyor's report would finally bring clarity and put an end to the long-standing dispute. As she drifted off to sleep, Mia felt lighter than she had in months. Tomorrow would bring the next step with the HOA, but for the first time she felt confident that the truth would be recognized. The fence, her garden, and her home were safe, and she had the evidence to prove it. Mia realized that the challenges she had faced were not just about property. They were a test of her patience, her careful planning, and her ability to remain calm under pressure. She had passed that test. Tomorrow, the final chapter in this long dispute would begin. The HOA would receive the survey, and the truth would be undeniable. Mia felt proud, prepared, and ready. The next week, Mia prepared to submit the official survey report to the Homeowners Association. She had carefully reviewed every detail, ensuring that the measurements, photographs, and diagrams were organized and clear. This was her chance to finally end the long-standing dispute over her fence. Her hands felt steady, but her heart raced with anticipation. Mia entered the HOA office carrying a neatly stacked folder. The receptionist greeted her politely, and she was asked to wait in a small, quiet room. Minutes passed slowly, each second stretching longer than the last. Mia looked around the room at the framed photographs of the neighborhood, trying to calm herself. She reminded herself that she had done everything right. The fence was on her property and the survey confirmed it. Finally, she was called into the meeting room. The board members sat around a large table, some taking notes, others looking at her with polite curiosity. At the far end, Karen sat, arms crossed, wearing a stern expression. Mia took a deep breath and placed the survey report on the table. "This is the official survey from Mr. Collins," Mia said calmly. "It confirms that my fence is entirely on my property. I request that the HOA review it and recognize the findings officially." The board members opened the folder and began examining the contents. Pages of measurements, photographs, and diagrams were spread before them. Mia watched their faces closely, noticing expressions changing from curiosity to focus. Every detail was precise and the evidence was clear. Karen tried to speak, pointing to one of the diagrams. "I still think part of the fence might be over the line," she said. One of the board members, Mr. Stevens, held up a hand.
"Karen, the survey is professional and detailed."
"All measurements confirm the fence is on the neighbor's property. There is no room for dispute." Karen frowned but remained silent. Mia felt a small wave of relief. The facts were undeniable. She had done everything carefully, documented everything thoroughly, and now the truth was in front of everyone. The board continued reviewing the report, checking measurements against city records. Mia listened carefully as they discussed the findings among themselves. After several minutes, Mr. Stevens looked up and addressed the room. "Mia, your survey is thorough, accurate, and professional. We have reviewed all the evidence, and it is clear that your fence is entirely on your property. The HOA recognizes this officially." Mia felt a wave of relief and joy wash over her. Years of stress, frustration, and tension had finally come to an end. She nodded, trying to hold back tears of relief. Karen sat quietly, her expression unreadable. She did not speak, and after a moment she left the room without further comment. Mia felt a mixture of satisfaction and calm. The long dispute was finally over. Mr. Stevens handed Mia an official letter from the HOA confirming the findings. It stated clearly that the fence was legally on her property and that no further action would be required. Mia held the letter carefully, feeling the weight of months of stress lift from her shoulders. As she left the HOA office, Mia felt lighter than she had in a long time. The streets of Willow Creek seemed brighter, the neighborhood quieter in a comforting way. She returned home carrying the folder and letter with care. Her backyard awaited her, her garden peaceful once again. Mia approached the fence, running her hands over the wooden boards. Each board felt strong and familiar under her touch. The fence was more than a property boundary. It was a symbol of her patience, her careful planning, and her perseverance. She smiled, feeling a sense of pride and relief she had not experienced in months. Neighbors began noticing the change as well. Mrs. Lopez, who had quietly supported Mia throughout the dispute, waved from across the street. "Congratulations, Mia," she said warmly. "You handled everything so well." Henry, the elderly neighbor who had witnessed the fence being built, nodded. "I knew it was correct all along," he said. "It is good to see the truth recognized." Mia felt grateful for the support she had received. She realized that standing firm, documenting carefully, and remaining calm had not only protected her property, but also demonstrated her integrity to the neighborhood. The next few days were spent restoring the peaceful rhythm of her life. Mia tended to her garden with renewed joy, planting flowers and vegetables with care. The fence, once a source of tension and anxiety, now stood proudly as a reminder of her perseverance. Every corner, every post, every painted board told a story of careful work and patience rewarded. Mia also reflected on the lessons she had learned. She had faced dishonesty and false claims without losing her composure. She had relied on careful preparation, professional guidance, and clear evidence to protect her home. The experience had strengthened her confidence and resilience, showing her the importance of standing up for what was right. Her brother, Daniel, visited the backyard one afternoon. "You handled this perfectly," he said. "The surveyor, the HOA, everything. You stayed calm, and now the truth is clear for everyone to see." Mia smiled, feeling warmth spread through her. "It was stressful, but I learned a lot," she said. "I realized how important it is to be prepared and to trust the process." Even Karen seemed to have accepted the situation quietly. She no longer confronted Mia or left notes in the mailbox. Mia noticed her watching from her yard occasionally, but there were no complaints or arguments. The neighborhood began returning to normal, and Mia felt a sense of peace she had not known for months. One evening, Mia sat in her garden, enjoying the soft light of the setting sun. The flowers swayed gently in the breeze, and the wooden fence reflected the warm glow. She realized that this fence was not just a barrier between properties. It was a symbol of her determination, patience, and careful action. It represented her ability to face challenges calmly and effectively, even when others tried to create conflict. Mia also thought about the importance of community. While some neighbors had been silent or cautious, those who offered support had made a meaningful difference. She felt gratitude for their encouragement and for the professional guidance that had helped her prove the truth. The garden felt peaceful once more. Mia walked along the fence, touching each post with care. She remembered the day she built it with Daniel, the laughter they shared, and the pride in completing the project. The fence had weathered not only the seasons but also the challenge of false accusations. It now stood stronger than ever, a testament to her perseverance. That night, Mia placed the HOA letter and the survey report in a safe place. She felt confident that her property was fully protected and that the truth was recognized officially. The long months of worry, doubt, and tension had finally ended. As she looked out over the backyard one last time before going inside, Mia whispered to herself, "I did everything right. The truth is clear. My home is safe, and my efforts have been recognized." Mia knew that this experience would stay with her as a reminder of patience, careful planning, and standing firm in the face of false claims. The fence, her garden, and her home were now symbols of her perseverance and integrity. The neighborhood, once tense with the dispute, slowly returned to its quiet routine. Children played in yards, neighbors waved to each other, and life continued. Mia felt a sense of belonging and pride. She had protected her property, maintained her dignity, and emerged stronger from the challenge. The truth had been revealed, and justice, in the form of clarity and recognition, had been restored. Mia finally felt free to enjoy her home and garden fully, knowing that the months of stress had ended and that her careful work had been validated. Mia went inside, closed the door, and felt a deep sense of calm. The fence, once a source of conflict, now stood as a testament to her patience, careful planning, and strength of character. She had faced a difficult challenge, and the truth had been revealed clearly for all to see. The morning after the HOA officially recognized her fence, Mia felt a sense of freedom she had not experienced for months. The tension that had weighed heavily on her shoulders seemed to lift with the rising sun. She walked into her backyard, taking in the familiar sights, the wooden fence standing proudly, the flowers swaying gently in the breeze, and the vegetable patches thriving in the soil. Everything looked peaceful and right, just as it should have been. For weeks, Mia had imagined this moment, but experiencing it was different. It was not just about winning a dispute. It was about reclaiming her home, her sanctuary, and her sense of calm. She ran her hands along the smooth boards of the fence, feeling the work she and her brother had done years ago. Each board, each nail, each carefully measured corner represented more than construction. It represented perseverance, patience, and integrity. Neighbors began noticing the change as well. Some came to greet her, offering warm smiles and congratulations. Mrs. Lopez waved from across the street. "I am so glad it is finally resolved," she said. "You stayed calm and handled everything perfectly." Henry, the elderly neighbor who had watched her build the fence, came over with a small basket of fresh apples. "You showed great patience," he said kindly. "It is good to see the truth recognized at last." Mia felt gratitude for the support she had received. The journey had been stressful, but she realized that standing firm with facts, preparation, and a calm attitude had brought clarity and justice. Even small gestures of encouragement from neighbors made her feel connected and appreciated. Karen, meanwhile, had stopped confronting Mia. She still appeared occasionally at her window, watching silently, but she no longer left notes or questioned the fence. The tension that had been constant in Mia's life began to fade. Slowly, the neighborhood returned to its normal rhythm, and Mia felt safe and confident once again. With the dispute behind her, Mia focused on restoring her home to the way she loved it. She spent days tending to her garden, planting new flowers, trimming bushes, and watering the vegetables. The act of caring for her space brought a sense of calm and accomplishment. The backyard, once a source of stress, became a sanctuary where she could relax, think, and enjoy the beauty she had cultivated. Mia also began thinking about how she could prevent similar situations in the future. She made copies of the HOA letter, the survey report, and her property documents, storing them safely. She created a simple system for tracking any changes or work done around her property, knowing that careful records could prevent misunderstandings later. Daniel, her brother, visited one afternoon to help with some landscaping work. "I am proud of you," he said as they worked together planting new flowers. "You handled everything so well. You stayed patient, collected evidence, and proved the truth." Mia smiled. "It was stressful, but I learned so much. I know now that preparation and calm thinking are stronger than anger or fear. I can handle anything with the right approach." As the weeks passed, Mia noticed how the dispute had changed her. She felt more confident, more in control, and more aware of the importance of careful planning. Even small tasks like measuring flower beds or arranging garden paths were approached with thoughtful attention. She realized that the patience she had practiced during the dispute had become a habit, helping her stay calm and organized in other areas of life. Mia also reflected on the power of community. While some neighbors had remained silent, those who had offered encouragement had made a difference. She appreciated their support and realized how important it was to maintain positive relationships with those around her. The neighborhood was stronger and more connected because of these small acts of kindness. One evening, as the sun set over Willow Creek, Mia sat in her garden with a cup of tea. The flowers glowed softly in the fading light, and the wooden fence cast gentle shadows across the lawn. She felt a deep sense of peace. The conflict that had dominated her life for months was finally behind her. Her home, her property, and her garden were secure, and she had the evidence to prove it. Mia thought about the lessons she had learned. She had faced dishonesty and false claims with patience and careful planning. She had relied on professional guidance and clear documentation to protect herself. The experience had strengthened her confidence and her ability to remain calm under pressure. More than anything, it had shown her that truth and perseverance could overcome even the most persistent challenges. With the HOA dispute resolved, Mia also began to enjoy her social life more. She invited neighbors over for small gatherings in her backyard, sharing tea, homemade snacks, and laughter. These moments helped rebuild a sense of community and joy that had been absent during the long dispute. Friends and neighbors admired her resilience and patience, often remarking on how gracefully she had handled the situation. Mia's relationship with her brother also strengthened. Daniel often joined her in the garden, helping with planting and maintenance. They talked about the experience, the challenges they had faced, and how they had overcome them. Their bond, already strong, grew even stronger as they reflected on the journey and celebrated the victory together. Over time, the memory of the dispute began to fade. Mia no longer felt anxious when looking at her fence or walking in her backyard. Instead, she saw it as a symbol of her perseverance and careful planning. The wooden boards, once a source of stress, now represented her strength and the effort she had put into protecting her home. Mia also became more proactive in managing her property. She regularly checked property lines, maintained her garden, and kept detailed records of any improvements or repairs. She knew that being prepared was the best way to prevent disputes and protect what she had worked hard to create. One afternoon, Mia decided to plant a row of sunflowers along the fence. Their tall, bright blooms would bring warmth and life to her backyard. As she planted each seed, she reflected on how far she had come. The fence, the survey, and the HOA recognition were behind her, and she could focus entirely on the things that brought her joy. Neighbors passing by often stopped to admire the flowers. Some asked questions about gardening tips, and Mia shared her knowledge gladly. She felt a sense of pride in her home, her garden, and the community she was part of. The conflict with Karen was now only a memory, replaced by positive interactions and a renewed sense of belonging. Mia also realized that her experience had given her confidence to face other challenges. If difficulties arose in the future, she knew she could handle them with patience, careful planning, and calm determination. The months of stress had taught her resilience and the importance of standing up for what was right. As autumn approached, the garden changed colors. Leaves turned gold and red, and the sunflowers swayed gently in the cool breeze. Mia spent quiet evenings in her backyard, enjoying the peaceful atmosphere and reflecting on the journey she had completed. The fence, sturdy and reliable, stood as a reminder of the lessons she had learned and the victory she had earned. One evening, Mia sat with a notebook, writing down her thoughts. She reflected on patience, preparation, and perseverance. She wrote about the importance of standing firm, seeking professional guidance when necessary, and documenting every detail carefully. She knew that these lessons would guide her in the future and help her handle any challenges with confidence. Mia also felt grateful for the neighborhood. The support from friends and neighbors, even small gestures, had helped her stay strong. She realized that community mattered, and positive relationships could make a meaningful difference in difficult times. As she closed her notebook, Mia looked at the fence one last time before heading inside for the night. The boards reflected the moonlight softly, and the garden smelled fresh and comforting. She felt a deep sense of satisfaction and pride. Her home was safe, her property secure, and the long months of worry had ended. Mia whispered to herself, "I did everything right. I stayed calm, prepared carefully, and faced the challenge with patience. My home is safe and my efforts have been recognized." She went to bed that night feeling calm, proud, and confident. The fence, once a source of stress, was now a symbol of perseverance and careful planning. The garden, the flowers, and the backyard reflected her strength and patience. Mia had turned a difficult dispute into a personal victory. The next morning, she woke up feeling renewed. She walked in her garden, watered the plants, and admired the fence. Everything felt right again. The conflict was over, and Mia could finally enjoy her home without worry. She smiled, knowing that she had protected her property, maintained her dignity, and learned valuable lessons that would guide her for years to come. Mia's life returned to a peaceful routine. She spent her days caring for her garden, enjoying quiet moments in her backyard, and connecting with supportive neighbors. The fence, once at the center of conflict, now stood proudly as a testament to her patience, careful planning, and courage. Mia realized that challenges were a part of life, but with preparation, calm thinking, and determination, they could be overcome. Her backyard, her fence, and her home symbolized not only her victory, but also the strength she had discovered within herself.